Hey everyone, it's Jeb, and I just finished going through every single NBA player on the SoRare marketplace to find the very best buy and sell plays going into game week 5. Now, if you don't have a SoRare account, go ahead and check the link in the description for an exclusive deal. Remember that this is not financial advice. Smash the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. Now, in last week's video, one of the players we identified as a buy low was Tyrese Maxey. Maxey had started the season off showing a very high ceiling potential, and we knew he would get way more minutes in usage compared to last season because Harden was no longer on the team. Since last week's video, we've seen his limited floor price go up about $10 as SoRare managers are watching more of the 76ers play and realizing what an important role Maxey will have this entire season. Now, the reason I'm bringing all this up is not to take a victory lap from last week's video, but to talk about a player who I think fits in the exact same vein as Tyrese Maxey and is even cheaper than Tyrese Maxey is right now, and that player is DeJounte Murray. Now, DeJounte Murray has a cap of 43 and a limited floor price just above $18. And for a player who just dropped a 60 on SoRare, you might think to yourself that an $18 limited floor seems extremely low. And in my opinion, you would be correct. The DeJounte Murray SoRare card floor is actually pretty close to the cheapest it's ever been. And I think the main reason for that is the fact that the Atlanta Hawks were an absolute dumpster fire last year. Last year, the Atlanta Hawks traded for DeJounte Murray during the offseason. As a result, there were some pretty high expectations for that Hawks team going into the season. However, between Trae Young and DeJounte Murray trying to figure out how to coexist in the backcourt, the whole mess with the head coach who eventually was fired, the seemingly never-ending drama of John Collins being traded, and so much more, the Hawks season was more of a reality TV show than a competent basketball season with a deep playoff run. As a result, I think a lot of SoRare managers still have a bad taste in their mouth from anyone on the Hawks from last season. However, with a great new head coach with Quinn Snyder and John Collins being traded away, I believe the Hawks will have a bit of a redemption season this year, and DeJounte Murray will be the focal point for that. Now, I'm not saying the Hawks are a legit playoff threat this year, but for SoRare purposes, I think DeJounte Murray is an incredible buy low opportunity. The next buy low we're going to talk about is actually a player we highlighted during the offseason. He's also a player that we've talked about since the beginning of SoRare last year and has been a bit of a staple for this channel, and that is Drew Eubanks. Now, Drew Eubanks has a cap of 28 and a floor price just above $6. During the offseason, we talked about how we thought Drew Eubanks would have a lot of opportunity windows because the Suns lacked depth. Even myself, who is a Drew Eubanks optimist to the fullest, didn't think Drew Eubanks would be such an integral part of this team so quickly. However, it is very clear at this point that Drew Eubanks has established himself as the backup big man and is already averaging about 20 minutes per game. Very early on in the season, he's already put up quite a few solid performances. And the only reason we're not talking about them is because his cap has been inflated by a 55 that he dropped to end the season last year. Once game week 4 has ended, he will only need to play 3 more games before that 55 is removed from his L10 and his cap will consequently drop. On top of that, the starting big man for the Suns, Jusuf Nurkic, is notorious for being injury prone. Personally, I think it'll be close to a miracle if Nurkic makes it through the entire season without taking multiple weeks off. And originally, that's why I was high on Eubanks, because I thought he would have those opportunity windows. Now it's starting to look like Eubanks might be playing Nurkic off the court. While I do think the Suns will continue to stick with Nurkic as the starter, I think they will also give more and more opportunities to Eubanks as he continues to play at this high level. And if Nurkic ever gets hurt, like I said, we think he eventually will at some time this season, Eubanks will be the direct beneficiary of that. And he will be one of the most optimal plays for that game week in SoRare. Now, the final buy low that we're going to talk about in today's video is a player who I don't necessarily think has the ceiling potential of a DeJounte Murray or the opportunity potential of a Drew Eubanks. However, I think he's a player that will still have some pretty solid opportunity windows to put up some high scores when he has a low cap. and that player is Malachi Branham. Now, Malachi Branham has a cap of 17 and a floor price at about 650. To end last season, since the Spurs were tanking, Branham was given quite a bit more minutes and usage, and those games where he performed very well on SoRare are still holding up his L10 currently. Throughout the season, I think there will be plenty of opportunities where Branham has a pretty low cap and then gets thrust into positions where he gets a solid increase in minutes and usage. And a great example of that is what we're about to see right now, as Devin Vassell will be out for a couple of weeks because of a groin injury. While it hasn't been made official yet, I think Branham will be in the starting five, and even if he isn't, I think he will definitely get an increase in minutes and usage. While I was doing research on SoRare data for this video, I was somewhat surprised to see that Branham's price really hasn't changed since the beginning of the season. So for that reason alone, I think it's a great idea to go ahead and buy one of his cards. 2 or 3 game weeks down the road, his cap should be a bit lower, and he probably will be an optimal play, especially if Vassell is still out. On top of that, I think Branham will be an incredible play down the road, especially if the Spurs decide to shut down Wemby for some reason. While I know Popovich is not trying to go into full tank mode again after last season, that might end up happening regardless. So I think it's a pretty sharp move to go ahead and prepare for that scenario accordingly. All right, so now that we talked about our 3 buy lows, let's go ahead and talk about our first sell high, and that is no other than Jordan Poole. Now, Jordan Poole has a cap of 20 and a floor price at $39. And while we talked about Jordan Poole in the offseason as one of the obvious targets going into this season on SoRare, I feel like his price is just too high for you to be holding on to him instead of taking the profits. First of all, over the next couple of game weeks, Jordan Poole's cap will start to significantly rise. As a result, he'll be a lot harder to fit into lineups, and we'll see the demand go down, which will push his price down. And if you've been watching any of these early Wizards games, Jordan Poole just does not look that good right now. Now, I do think Jordan Poole will be a great SoRare play throughout the season. However, it seems like this is a great time to go ahead and sell, take some profits, and then maybe scoop him up a little later down the road when he's shaken off some of the rust and his price has gone down as people have continued to lose faith in him. So even though he's a sell high right now, don't be surprised if Jordan Poole pops up on a buy low down the road. The next sell high I have on my list is nobody's favorite player, and that is D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell has a cap of 25 and a floor price of $25. While D'Angelo Russell started off the season performing surprisingly well and scoring consistently above his cap, I have absolutely zero faith that that will continue to happen as the season progresses. Personally, I don't think D'Angelo Russell plays winning basketball, and I think the Lakers will slowly move further and further away from him and may even relegate him to the bench. Honestly, the only reason I'd have any interest in D'Angelo Russell on SoRare is because the Lakers might end up trading him before the trade deadline. In that scenario, if he ends up on a bad team where he can put up empty stats, he might be a decent SoRare play. But otherwise, I think you got to take the money and run, because $25 for D'Angelo Russell seems insanely high. Finally, the last sell high that we have today, and the last player we're going to talk about in this video, is Malcolm Brogdon. Now, Malcolm Brogdon has a cap of 20 and a floor price at just below $24. And that's coming down from a recent floor price of $32, where Malcolm Brogdon had a cap of 18 going into game week 4, and honestly was just an incredibly optimal play for the in-season tournament. And he totally delivered for that in-season tournament, by the way, dropping a 51 on SoRare, which is an incredible ceiling game from him. And unlike D'Lo, who is a player I just don't believe in at all, I actually really like Brogdon a lot. And I'm pretty positive he'll pop up as a buy low in the future because of that. However, his cap is about to increase pretty significantly, and on top of that, he's a bit injury prone. So for those reasons, I'm going to go ahead and take the profits and maybe just keep an eye on him as the season progresses. I definitely think Brogdon is a card that you want in your collection, especially as we approach the trade deadline. But with the season just starting, there's a lot of opportunities between now and that trade deadline. So I think he is a great sell high right now. So there you have it. Another week, another 3 buy lows, and another 3 sell highs. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Comment below. Let me know who your buy lows and sell highs are. Let me know if you disagree with any of mine. and I'll see you guys next video. Please clap.